Hope you're all keeping well on this rather freezing weekend. I've just been out to London, actually, to meet my dad. We watched the Chelsea-Fulham game. Really needed Fulham to get something there, but Chelsea clung on 1-0. But yeah, it is cold, really chilly out there. So if you're going out, make sure you wrap up. It's supposed to be snowing, I think, as well, isn't it, next week, next Wednesday, I believe. Yeah, so be wary about that. But enough about the weather. We're not here to talk about the weather. We'll talk about West Ham, of course. And actually, I'll tell you what, before we talk about the club, I'll just let you know we're giving away a West Ham top every month for the whole season. And we're doing it. There's going to be a video up tomorrow. So basically, all you need to do is keep an eye out for that video tomorrow. And you just need to put a comment on it. It's going to be a bit different one tomorrow, actually. I'm going to I'll explain more in that video then. But you need to be a subscriber. So if you're not a subscriber, just click the subscribe button. It's free to do so why not? And also hit the like button as well on this video because it also helps the channel. But look, let's go on to West Ham. There's a lot going on at the moment. As typically there is these times of year, you know what I mean? Transfer window times, just so many reports coming out all the time. Players we're linked with, players that are leaving, and God knows what else. It goes on and on and on. But I do want to do an update on a few players. And this is quite an important one, actually, quite a big one, because this has come from an ExWHUEmployee. And what he tends to do, right, is he will, on Patreon, I know West Ham Patreon, if you're not a patron, by the way, go and check it out. It's fantastic. £5 a month. You get the latest news straight to your phone or whatever, and it comes from X, and it's, you know, spot on as always. But what he does is, right, he provides these updates of what's going on at the club, the comings and goings, and obviously these sort of exclusive news updates. Now, typically, as you say, as I was saying, like with this time of year, you sort of get so many news bits and pieces coming all over the place of players that might be coming, players we're looking at, and a lot of it you can dismiss. Do you know what I mean? As fans, we know now what's going on at the club. We kind of think, yeah, we're not going to be doing this, we're not going to be doing that. The fact is, right, and we've known this for quite some time, West Ham are not big spenders in January. We rarely ever sort of put our hands in our pockets and spend lots of money. We tend to try and do a bit of if we're going to do business, it's usually quite cheap or loans or things like that. And I do believe that's the case this time round. West Ham aren't going to be spending big money. If we're going to be doing big spend, it's usually in the summer. And to be honest with you, I kind of agree with it in a sense. I do want to see us strengthen, don't be wrong, but I can understand why that if, as a football club, you think we'll earmark the summer as our time we do our big bits of big business, but this January we'll use, if need be, or to sort of push the club along. I've been saying for quite some time that we seem to have squandered opportunities in the past where we're having good seasons and we don't kind of kick on. You think just bring a couple of players in, or maybe even just one, just to give us that extra bit of boost, you know what I mean, into the second half of the season. Whereas this time round, though, this year and this season, you feel that the circumstances are slightly changed. Well, one, that we've got a good opportunity in the league, which is great, and we don't want to squander. We have done before. We've also got Tim Steidten involved now, which makes you think that I'd be surprised if West Ham do nothing. There's also the fact that we're letting players go. Do you know what I mean? We've Tilo Kehra's left for Monaco. All right, it's a loan, but theoretically, he's likely to be going there permanently. So let's take it that he has gone. And of course, Connor Coventry's just departed for Charlton, which is obviously an emotional farewell to him. I hope he does really well there. Love Connor Coventry, such a lovely lad, and what a great signing for Charlton. You know, really good midfielder. He wasn't going to make it at West Ham, unfortunately. I think his time. I think it was the right thing to happen. It probably should have happened a little bit earlier, really, in regards to his career. But I'm sure he'll go and do really well. I'd love to see him, you know, do like Josh Cullen's done. Do you know what I mean? Go away and come back, and maybe one day we'll see him in the Premier League. But look. What it does mean, though, these departures, is that it's indicating that there is change happening at the moment at the club. We're not just sitting still. We are doing things. Now, as I've said, West Ham aren't going to be likely to be spending big money on players this month. I don't see it, especially with financial fair play. So X has provided an update, and there's a few players on this that are players I think West Ham fans really need to keep an eye on. I think there's got legs in it. They really do. I think these are players that West Ham, from what I understand it, are in talks with, and that we are possibly going to be looking to make bids for. So this is quite interesting, actually. Now, the first player I want to talk about is a player called Ibrahim Osman. Now, he's a player that comes from the same academy as Mohamed Kudus. So it appears that West Ham are looking at that market now because of the success that Kudus has had at the club straight away, which is understandable. You know, you're sort of thinking, well, if there's any other gems that we can unearth here, then maybe we can. Now, the thing is with Osman, though, he's highly rated, and he is a player that other clubs are interested in, including Arsenal and Brighton. There's a club in Germany as well that are interested. He's a forward. Just look at these stats here. Not actually overly impressive, actually, at the moment. He's 24 years old. He's only got one goal out of 16 games so far and 4 assists, but he is regarded, you know, highly talented, apparently. And he plays as forward. I think he can play on the wing as well, on the left side, I believe. So it's definitely one that we need to be keeping an eye on. As far as I understand it, West Ham, from what X has given us an update, his actual words were, the club are expected to test the water on this signing should the manager agree to it. Now, from understanding from what X has said, this is one that's got legs in it. West Ham could be making a move. So as fans, I think this is a player we really need to keep keeping an eye on. Seems more... These players I mentioned here seem a bit more credible than what we can do. Now, whether it's going to be a loan or a permanent deal, I'm not sure. I imagine that the moves that West Ham will make in January are going to be likely to be loans with the options to buy in the summer, etc. I can't see West Ham outlaying a lot of money in this period of the year, but you never know. You never know what West Ham are going to do, but I think that's the case. Another player that really is interesting here is the striker from Greece. He's called Ioannidis of Panathinaikos. Really good returns on goals this season. 16 goals already this season. This is X's update. He went... the two teams played on the radar. We watched him play against recently, and he scored in a 2-1 loss. And he impressed our scouts. Apparently, he's more like a more likely option we go for this January in terms of a striker. I believe again this is one that has got legs in it. West Ham, as fans, we really need to keep an eye on this. This could be the striker we're going to be bringing in by the looks of it. I mean, look. It could all change very quickly. We know the landscape shifts fast, but the players we're listing here seem to be the ones that are more likely at this stage. I know that we've been lit with the likes of Jack Clark of Sunderland. I've always found that one a bit struggled with it. Look, don't get me wrong. I rate the player. I think he'd be good at West Ham. He plays on the left-hand side, and our record of getting players in the Championship is very good. So that's one I'm very interested in. I just don't think West Ham are going to pay the money. And bearing in mind, you've got Sunderland that are challenging for the playoff spots in the Championship. I can't really see them selling their best players at the moment. It's unlikely unless it's big money. And I just don't think West Ham are going to be in the market to be doing that. I really don't. So Ioannidis of Panathinaikos as a striker is the one I think we need to be. My gut says if we're going to be bringing in a striker, it's most likely to be this guy at the moment. The last one, though, is Jota. Now, not the Liverpool Jota. This is the Jota who used to play for Celtic. He's gone out now to play in Saudi. This is the update X has been given. There's been some discussions that we could be interested in some of the Saudi players who have expressed a desire to move away. We've been linked with Henderson and Firmino. However, there's no real substance in that. There are other players we've been linked with, but the one that we've got to keep an eye on is Jota, the former Celtic player who is available on a loan, has not been registered by his club. And lots of Premier League clubs now have been alerted to this, and we are going to face competition. But again, this seems to be a player that West Ham are going to make a move for. So that's 3 players. That's quite interesting now. Now, it kind of begs the question, because I do think they've got more exits to come. I think Ben Rama's going to leave. As far as we understand it, he's quite close to leaving. From what my gut tells me, from what we've been told, and the news coming out from the ExWHUEmployee employees that deal is something's going to happen here with Ben Rama, that he could be departing. So West Ham are going to be strengthening. So as I've said, I think the thing that's kind of put me off when I didn't believe it first of all was because of the homegrown quota. Well, my previous video talked about the academy boys. So West Ham are now looking seriously at our under-21 sides of players they can bring up. So I think that's going to be what fills the homegrown quota. I think that's the way the club are going to play it. They see some of these academy boys that can get a go, and they believe it can make the step up now to the first team. And that being said, I mean, all right, there's some players that we think some of them want to go out on loan as well, and I think the club will be doing that. There's a few others that will be kept at the club. So that will fulfill that homegrown quota. So these 3, although not homegrown, are likely to be players the club are going to go for. So just recap on that then. So we're going to go for Osman, I believe, of the Nordisland, the forward. And as I say, can also play in the wing. Got Ioannidis of Panathinaikos. Now, I do think that this one's got legs in it, really do. I think this, if we're going to be bringing a striker, it's likely to be him. And Jota, of course, is also one to keep an eye on. There's going to be so many transfer news bits coming, even from our channel, from all quarters, though, isn't there? There's going to be so much because it's just that time of year. And it's hard sometimes to... Well, unless you know for a fact it's unlikely because of the money being quoted. I mean, if you're talking about when they're saying 40, 50 million pound players, you just know West Ham are not going to be doing that in January. It's highly unlikely. So these are the players that look a bit more likely. I do think that we're going to be looking at loans of options to buy in the summer. But yeah, look, it's going to be a busy old January, this, and I think it's going to be coming thick and fast, especially with the fact that we've got a game coming up next weekend. It'd be nice to get a couple through the door, wouldn't it? Sooner rather than later, especially with the injury situation going on. We're going to be providing an injury update very soon. I think this will be coming on Monday. Actually, it'll possibly be Tuesday, actually. That'll be coming out when we find a bit more information out. But we're hearing some positive things a little bit, possibly showing Jared Bowen, but I don't know that certain just yet in terms of hopefully it's not as serious as first thought. But look, let's wait and see. But these are the players definitely I think West Ham fans need to be keeping an eye on.